Welcome to the news at 4. I'm Doug Petcash. Neighbors and church members of Chad and Tylee Daybell were on the witness stand today for day 20 of Lori-Vallow Daybell's murder trial. They testified about the months before and after Tylee Daybell died. Tammy is the late wife of Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow's fifth and current husband. Vallow was charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the deaths of Tammy and her own two kids, J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan. News Channel 7's Shira Matsuzawa joins us now live from the Ada County Courthouse. Shira, what did the jury see and hear today?
Well, those neighbors, Doug, that you mentioned, Alice and Todd Gilbert, they talked about when they first met Lori, which was about a week and a half after Tammy died. They say Chad and Lori came to their house and they appeared to be like teenagers in love. Now, the couple also was there when Tammy Daybell died. They went over to her house that same day, and while Tammy's children were, quote, stunned, she says Chad was not. Alice said Chad also told her Tammy's funeral would be held on Tuesday and her memorial on Wednesday. Tammy died just 3 days before that, on a Saturday, on October 19th of 2019. Alice got emotional when she talked about Tammy's funeral, saying Chad wasn't really mournful in her opinion. Her husband, Todd, called his manner businesslike. They both testified that when Chad and Lori came to their house, Lori told her her husband died from a heart attack. Chad also mentioned Lori recently lost a daughter. She said she was under the impression that Vallow had no other children, or if she did, she was an empty nester. The Gilberts also testified Chad asked to move in with them after Lori was arrested in Hawaii. He said it was too crowded at his place. They said Chad also asked if they would put up their property for bond. They told Chad they'd think about it, but the next day Chad texted them that he arranged for a bondsperson to come and talk to them. The couple also mentioned that when Chad came back from Hawaii, Alice asked him about Tylee, and she says Chad responded, quote, she didn't like people, she didn't like me. Past tense. They say there was never a mention of JJ's existence, even when Chad and Lori took Chad's kids to Disneyland. They never knew Lori had another kid. Todd also testified that in February of 2019, Chad told him he had a vision that Tammy would die and not make it to her 50th birthday. Tammy died at the age of 49. Earlier today, the medical examiner who performed the autopsy on Tammy Daybell was also back on the stand. The defense spent a lot of time questioning him about Tammy and if it's possible that she could have died from seizures, which could have been a side effect from a medication she was on. Dr. Eric Christensen said it's possible, but he said based on how her brain looked and her age and lack of seizure history, he determined she died from asphyxia. The prosecution also called Fremont County Sheriff Detective Bruce Mattingly back to the stand. He talked about obtaining a search warrant for Tammy's Fitbit. He said while Chad stated Tammy was sick from an investigative standpoint, Tammy was very active up until her death. Now, 40 minutes of court today was spent listening to a podcast that featured Lori Vallow, her then friend Melanie Gibb, as well as two other individuals, and we'll explain what was said in that podcast and the reason for it coming up at 4:30. Doug?
Interesting, Shira. A lot of testimony coming out today, as every day in this trial. We'll see you in about 30 minutes. And for the latest updates throughout the trial, you can visit this story on our website at ktvb.com. And for more in-depth coverage from court, scan the QR code on your screen for a link to all of our coverage of the trial.